This is the Ordinary Business Podcast for business owners who want honest conversations, a lean business, and an extraordinary life on their own terms.
Morgan, what is one household task that you wish you could just outsource forever?
Folding laundry. It will sit in a laundry basket for longer than I'm willing to admit. I'm the only one that cares if it's folded. My kids could not care less if their laundry is folded or not folded, but I like it needs to be folded for me.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how you juggle business and being a military spouse with your partner being gone a lot of the time. But before we dive into that, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah, my name's Morgan Specht. My business is Specht & Co. Creative Studio. So we do brand strategy, brand design, and Squarespace and Kajabi website design for online service-based businesses. I also have my own podcast called The Six Figure Brand. And then, like you said, I have 2 small children and I am a military spouse.
Yes. Okay. The first thing that I'm curious about is how has being a military spouse kind of shaped or maybe even changed the way that you approach business?
So I had my business before I became a military spouse. My husband was in for some time before we met. We met, got married. He was like, I'm done with that. And then when we decided we were ready to start having kids, he kind of was like, okay, well, maybe it's a good idea for me to go back. And it was a big relief to me that that was not something I was going to have to worry about with my husband going into the military. I know so many spouses that either just give up their career completely because it's too hard to restart at every new base, or they end up doing something that is really not what they want to do. So I think for me, it's just been having that perspective of, I hate to say that I'm lucky because I don't feel like I'm lucky. I feel like I worked very hard to get where I am. And this is all the result of a lot of very on purpose decisions. But I'm very blessed to not have that be an added stressor in military life. Things are changing all the time. And my business for me is kind of the one constant that helps keep me grounded a little bit.
That makes sense. Are there specific challenges that you have to kind of deal with as a business owner being a military spouse that obviously I'm not a military spouse. So what am I completely unaware of that goes on in your day to day?
The biggest one is just that I am solo parenting a lot of the time. So there's not ever enough hours in the day. And the other thing I think that people are like, oh, you have to move a lot. That sucks. And they don't really understand what a big deal that is that there's a lot of, I guess you could call it breakage in my business. So we moved most recently this past July, end of July. And I was doing the absolute bare minimum in my business from probably the middle of May until September, because I'm getting ready on the front end and then we're moving and then I'm trying to get everybody settled in on the back end and figuring out childcare and where the grocery store is and who our doctors are and all of those things. That's just taking up so much space in my brain that I can't focus on business. And that's fine. Clients are always really understanding. That part's not a huge deal. I think where it is every time been a struggle for me is that I kind of dropped the ball on marketing in those seasons. So then now that we moved in July, it's now middle of November. And I'm okay, we have a routine. I'm ready to get to work. Let's do it. Where are the clients? Because I spent 3 months not marketing my business. And so now is when I'm feeling the effects of that. So for me, that is the hardest part that I think people don't really realize exists.
I mean, even just moving across town for me, obviously that's much easier and doesn't take as much lift as a big move like yours. But I mean, I think about I definitely reduce. And I'm I'm just not going to worry about emails this week, or things like that. For you, it sounds like marketing is kind of the thing that you're that's just going to have to not happen right now. Was it 100% I'm not doing a single thing, or were you oh, I'm still kind of at least putting out this? Or
so with each move I get a little better. I did not drop the ball completely. I still was putting out podcast episodes and showing up on social media where I could. For me though, the biggest driver of getting new leads in my business is networking. And that is really to do when my office is in a box and I have no childcare and can't find my blow dryer because it's packed away somewhere. So I don't want to like get on camera. So I think that's been hard. And I think the thing for military spouses is that it's like back to back to back. My husband has been back in the military for less than 4 years and we've moved 3 times. So as soon as
Oh
you
my
feel like
gosh.
you've got your feet back under you, then it's time to do it all over again.
Especially, like you said, with the networking being like the main way that you connect with people and get referrals and get clients. Like it's easy to schedule a threads post, pre-record some reels or podcasts, but like you can't really pre-schedule some networking calls.
Yeah. If only.
So what does a normal week look like when your partner is gone and you are solo parenting? Because this is your situation most of the time.
It kind of ebbs and flows. Like, for example, the last 2 weeks, I think my husband has slept in our bed like 4 times. So I've gotten, and that's different for every military spouse. For us in this assignment that he's in now, that's the case, but it wasn't before. Like at our last base, he was home a lot. So I don't want people to think that like every military spouse ever is solo parenting 100% of the time. My older daughter is 2.5. She's in daycare, preschool in the morning. So like 8 to 12, Monday to Friday. And that has been a big help to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wake up, I pack her lunch, I make her breakfast, I wake her up. We do the whole getting ready for school routine. Then usually I'll wake up my younger son who's just about to turn 1. We load everybody in the car, drop off at school at 8, and then I get home at like 8:30 and start work with a baby crawling around the ground and climbing up my legs and getting into stuff and crying and doing all the things. And then he will go down for a nap right now, around like 9:30, 10. So from about 9:30 or 10 to 11:30 when we need to leave for pickup is really my window for any like calls or like really deep focused work or anything like that. And then we do pickup and come home and have lunch and go to the park and do all the mom things and bath and better dinner and bedtime. And then when my husband's gone, I probably 4 nights out of the week will like pop open my laptop and sit on the couch and watch TV and work in the evenings. It's funny because I was just joking with him of like, I almost think I'm more productive when you're not home, oddly enough. Like I'm not getting help and I'm tired, but in the evenings when he's home, I want to spend time with him. And when he's not, I'm like, that's like 2 or 3 hours that I could get stuff done and no clients are bothering me. No kids are bothering me. It's like my best in the zone work time.
So if he is home, is it like a 9 to 5 situation, or is he like literally home all day and can help like take care of your youngest?
Kind of a little bit of both. So like yesterday was his first day home in like a week and he stayed home the whole day. He worked a little bit from home, but I had an interview for my podcast, so he was able to like take the baby for a walk and get out of the house so it would be quiet so that I could work.
Mm-hmm.
Today, he's at work from 9 till he'll probably get home at like 6 o'clock tonight, so just in time for dinner and bedtime. So that really varies. His like commander that he works for is pretty good about being like, hey, when you're home, like do what you need to do as long as your work's getting done. So we're really lucky in that sense. That is not the case for everyone.
Yeah. So you were talking about the like hour and a half that you have in the morning nap. I'm curious, as a fellow designer, do you try to get design work done in that hour and a half, or are you doing more like marketing, admin, client stuff?
If you're an early stage business making under $300,000 a year, the Aligned Money Method Accelerator is the financial support you've been missing. A CPA created this program so you're not guessing, Googling, or piecing things together anymore. So if you want a financial system that feels clear, this is where you start. Learn more at myabundantia.com/foundations.
It varies. That is, I think, probably the thing that I'm like still figuring out the most because I get really torn between like, I don't like being on calls when my kids are around because my clients never care. They always are like, oh, it's fine. No problem. Your kids are cute. Like, great. I don't like it because I feel like I'm distracted and like I'm not like giving them my 100%. And they deserve that. So I try and schedule my calls for that time. But the problem is that it's really easy for your calendar to fill up 100% of that time with calls. And then I'm like,
Yes.
well, when am I going to actually get work done? So that's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm still like trying to find that balance. I also have a team, so I'm not doing most of the design work in my business. I'll do some stuff here and there. But if it's anything that's like on a really strict timeline or anything like that, I usually will have the graphic designer who works for me do that, and I'll just like art direct and review it because I don't have the like actual time and space or the brain space to do that type of work as well as I would like to right now.
Which makes total sense. Now, you mentioned your team, and that was
Mhm.
another thing I wanted to talk about was like investing in support because when we were chatting before we started recording, um, you kind of talked about like investing in support, both personally and professionally, was kind of like a mindset issue. And so I'm curious, like, what shifted for you? What finally made you say, like, oh, okay, like, I need, I need some support.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is probably like a childhood thing where like I just grew up in a family where we did everything ourselves and like only rich people had nannies and house cleaners and like they're like bougie and whatever. So that was hard for me to get over because I'm like, oh well, I'm not a millionaire, like I don't deserve that
Mm,
kind of. And same thing in my business. I was like, well, if I hire a VA or a graphic designer or whatever, like one, that's money that's not going in my pocket. And two, like it's also added pressure because what if I don't bring in enough clients to sustain that and then I have to let them go and then I feel bad and yada yada. So on the business side, I hired support long before I had kids or was a military spouse because I experienced some very extreme burnout and was like, I hate my business. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, where's a job that I can apply for?
mm-hmm.
And so my coach at the time, like, talked me off the ledge and was like, just go hire a VA. Like, and that will change your life. And it did. And then I hired my graphic designer like 4 or 5 months before I went on maternity leave with my first baby. And that was kind of the thought that I was like, I need somebody to take care of my clients while I'm gone. So that kind of forced me into growing my business in that way, which was good. I don't know if I would have done it otherwise. And then personally, I just kind of started doing the math of like, okay, well, if I hire somebody to clean my house or watch my kid or whatever, like I've
Mm-hmm.
done all of these things in different ways in different seasons of my life now. I'm paying the house cleaner $20 an hour, but I bill at 75 or $100 an hour. So like I can make way more money than what I'm paying her if I just worked during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the like mental sigh of relief that I sigh whenever I come out of my office to a clean house is worth a lot of money.
Yes. Yes, and amen. Yeah, I have also done those kind of calculations. My daughter is in pre-K and her school day technically ends at 2 or 2:30. And so we have to like pay for what they call like aftercare. And then I can just pick her up whenever I want. And at first I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I want to like do that. But then I was like, wait, it's like $100 a week. And I would make more money if I had, like, I can pay for this.
Mhm.
I mean, literally we can afford it, but also it was like, if I have her home, that's less hours in my day, that's less clients I can take on, that's less income for us potentially, like how much would that affect everything just for having her home? This actually makes a lot more sense to just have her be at aftercare. And bonus, she loves it. She gets mad when I pick her up because she's like, I want to keep coloring. So
Yeah.
it all worked out.
Yeah. Daycare was a tough pill for me to swallow. I was definitely like, before I had kids, one of those parents of like, I don't understand why people have kids and then they send them to daycare and then somebody else is raising their kid, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like in hindsight, that was very judgy of me. And I had my daughter. She was born in March 2023. I kept her home with me full time while I worked, and we just made it work until she was like 14, 15 months old. And then she started taking less naps and being more of a troublemaker and all the things, I was still like sticking to my guns of like, I'm not putting my kid in daycare. So I found a neighbor who was a stay-at-home mom and I was like, hey, you want to watch my daughter for like 6 hours a week so I can do some work? That felt like a comfortable transition to me. And
Mhm.
then with this last move, I obviously lost that resource, and changed my mindset about daycare a lot. So I
Yeah.
found I knew I didn't want her to go full time. Also, it is just like outrageously expensive. I
Oh, yes.
kind of view it as like a business expense a little bit of like,
Mhm.
I need to pay for this so I can work. So I
Yep.
it's good for both of us to have some time apart. I am a better mom when I don't spend all my time with her and she is like having the time of her life. So that helps.
Mhm. Yeah. And I also like I grew up as a daycare kid, but I also view it for myself that I'm showing her what it looks like to have parents who love what they do. My mom loved her job. Like I grew up knowing that my mom loved what she did. I want her to see that like both mom and dad love what they do and you can do that too when you get older. And so like you said, I also feel like it makes me a better mom. Like I get to do something I love all day and
Yes.
then spend time with her doing things that we love to do, and it's, like, the best of both worlds.
I think as like a woman, it is important for me to show her that like you don't have to choose. Like you can be
Mm,
a present,
mhm,
quote, stay-at-home mom and you can still have your job. And
yes.
don't feel like I was ever shown that as a kid.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Okay, so while we're talking about hiring support, you mentioned the VA and the graphic designer. What do you feel like the first hires that you made that had the biggest impact? Like, have there been other people that you've hired, again, personally or professionally?
I would say definitely my VA has been the big, like she like literally runs my business for me. I joke. So biggest one for sure. I've had a couple of different graphic designers throughout the years. They've all been great and lovely, but I feel like that's a little easier to replace, to be frank,
Mhm.
than a really
Yeah.
solid right hand woman. Personally, I think daycare has been the biggest one, to be honest with you. When we were at our previous assignment in Idaho, I did have a house cleaner come once a month, and that was great for a while. When we moved here, instead of hiring a new house cleaner, my husband was like, well, why don't, like, what else can we do to, like, make it easier on you that is not hire someone? So, like, I do things like grocery pickup that saves me a bunch of time and headache to not have to
Mhm.
drag my kids through the store. We bought a robot vacuum and mop. So I'm doing all of the chores except for cleaning my floors, which has been huge. So I
Mhm.
think also, like, just a note for listeners of like getting help doesn't have to be hiring a full-time person in your business, or
Right. Yeah.
there are a lot of little very manageable things that we can do to make our lives easier that are not like a huge investment.
Mhm. Yeah. I also have a robot vacuum, and we got it for similar reasons. Like, obviously, I'm not a military spouse, but it was just like, what are little things we can do to take some things off of both either or both of our plates? I know a lot of people do like meal delivery services. I know we always love to automate things in business and like, ooh, I have a Zap for that and an automation for this, but it's but I feel like also what can we do in our personal life? Because then that helps us. I always look at it like, yes, it's helping the home and the family and helping me as a mom and, us as parents, but it's also like, then that helps me as a business owner.
Yeah, and I think for me too, like I like doing stuff in my business, even like the boring, annoying stuff in my
Mhm.
business. I
Mhm.
kind of enjoy. So why would I outsource everything in my business and then be like, okay, well, gotta go scrub the toilets and vacuum the floors now? Like, why wouldn't I do it in the reverse way?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Last question for someone who's listening, maybe they are a newer military spouse or they're like transitioning into that. What
Mhm.
is a piece of advice that you would give them?
Not to be shy about making friends or asking for help or just putting yourself out there. And I say that as like the world's biggest introvert. Like, I like nothing makes me happier than to go 3 or 4 days without leaving my house, which is really hard having a child who is not at all an introvert. But this most recent move is the first time that I really leaned into, like, there's a spouses Facebook group on every base, to getting on there and being like, "Hey, I need a babysitter. Does anyone have a teenager that needs help? Or where do you guys like to go to the pumpkin patch? Or like, does somebody want to meet up for coffee or whatever?" And I will tell you that I wanted to vomit every time after I did that. But I have found a couple of like really great, reliable babysitters. And we went to the best pumpkin patch I've ever been to in my life. And I have like an actual real life friend here now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I had not waited until our third assignment to do that. It's really helpful to have somebody who has like been there. Also, I feel like,
Yes.
I have plenty of friends, lots of business friends, very few business owner and military spouse friends, and it's a unique set of circumstances that we deal with. So nobody
Yeah.
can really relate to you the same as somebody else who's in your same boat.
Well, thank you for sharing your story and your experience. Where can we connect with you online?
Yes, I hang out on Threads a ton and Instagram a little bit. Both handles are at Specht & Co.
I will link that for y'all so you can go connect with Morgan. But thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.